Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. So I've noticed that in a lot of my previous videos I've used mostly warm tones, so I wanted to step outside my comfort zone and create something a little bit different for you guys, so that's what I've done today. Also, just a side note, this is probably the most amount of makeup you'll ever see me wear, and that's because I also wanted to show you how to achieve a full-on glam heavy makeup look. I hope you like this look. If you don't, I hope you maybe learn something new from this video, or it encourages you to step outside of your comfort zone, whatever that may be. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to be taking my MAC Prolongwear concealer to carve out my brows, which I've already done off camera to start with. And I'm also going to be using this concealer to prime my eyelids. I'm going to be packing that really heavy on the lid. This is quite an important step when you want to do a really heavy makeup look, because it will make sure that the colours are more vibrant and that they last all day. And at this point you're probably thinking, well, that is way too light for you, but it doesn't matter because we're going to go over it with eyeshadow anyway. You're not going to see much of that stark white concealer peeking through, so don't worry about that. And then just use your brush to pack that all in, make sure it's all nice and seamless. And I also like to run a little bit of that underneath the lower lash line to prime that for when we go in with the darker colours. And then taking my MAC Amiga eyeshadow and my Sigma E40 blending brush, I'm going to be packing that on really heavily in the crease. So I'm not really bothered about blending at the moment. I'm just concerned about packing that colour on and getting the intensity there. And then I'm going to go in and blend. I'm just placing that back and forth in the crease and slightly above it, just packing it on for the time being. You can see that I'm constantly going back in to pick up more products, and then once I've got the colour down that I want, I'll start to blend out the edges. And then I'm going to be taking another MAC shade. This is Copperplate. It's just a matte grey. And I'm going to be using a MAC 224 brush to place that in the crease of the eye. I'm keeping it a little bit lower than the Omega shade. But again, packing the colour on first, keep dipping into that product and getting the placement down. And then I'm going to blend it out. If you have watched any of my previous videos, you may have noticed that I always do my base first. I never do my eyes first. That's just because that's how I feel comfortable doing my makeup. But because I knew I was going to be using a lot of eyeshadow in this look, I didn't want to have any fall down onto my foundation. So I'm doing my eyes first in this video, and then I'll do my foundation afterwards. So once I've placed that down and I'm happy with it, I'm going to go back in with a little bit of Omega on my E40 Sigma brush just to reinforce it. Sometimes when you blend you can lose previous shades, so you always want to go back in and just make sure that colour is still there. Then I'm taking my Zoeva Smokey palette, I think it's called, and I'm taking that shade there. I can't remember what it's called and I can't read it from here, but I will put it down below. And I'm just again placing that in the crease, not too concerned with blending just yet, just making sure I get that colour down, and then I'll go back in and blend it out. And I always go back in with my fluffy brush and make sure the edges are nice and seamless after I place the colour down. There you go, fluffy brush, just blending everything out. And then from the same palette, I'm going to be taking a dark brown. These are all matte, by the way. So I'm taking this dark brown on the same brush that I was using. And I'm going to be placing this in the crease again and more onto the outer corner in circular motions. It's always quite a process when you do dramatic looks like this, and you will go through the ugly stage where it just looks a little bit ugh. But don't worry, don't panic, don't wash it off and start again, even though every urge in your body is tempting you to do that. Just take your time with it and it will come together in the end, I promise. Now I'm taking a matte black. This one is from Sugarpill, and I'm using the same brush as before just to place that on the outer corners and slightly into the crease. And again, I'm just going back in with the product, packing it on and then blending it out. And then to cut the crease, I'm going to be taking some of the Prolongwear concealer on a flat synthetic brush. And starting from the inner corner, I'm going to work my way halfway across the eye. I'm not taking this all the way out to the outer corner. I'm just going to do a sort of half cut crease vibe. If you find that you struggle to carve in your cut crease, it may be your brush. When I cut my crease, I have to have a flat synthetic brush and preferably with a rounded edge, the rounded edge kind of follows your natural curve in your eye, so it almost does the work for you. So yeah, I just like to make sure that that crease is nice and sharp, and then I'll start packing that concealer onto the inner corner of the lid and bringing it out, but not all the way out, just to kind of meet the black. And you don't have to worry too much at this point about blending that concealer into the black. We're going to do that in a second with some eyeshadow. You just want to make sure that the crease is nice and sharp and you've packed that concealer all on the inner corner. As I said, I'm going to take some eyeshadow and soften that line. So I'm taking the plum colour first, and I'm just gently going in between where the line of concealer meets the black, just to soften it. And then I'm going to go back in with a black and the same brush, which is a MAC 221, to soften it further. So again, just softening that with the black, and I'm also making sure that I'm packing that onto the outer corner because I kind of lost some of the intensity when I placed down the plum colour. For the lid colour, I used my Makeup Revolution Foil Finish eyeshadow in the shade Pure Platinum, and it comes with a little liquid primer that you kind of drop into the eyeshadow and then use a brush to pick some shadow up. It's got a weird texture. It's like a cream slash gel, and you kind of have to work with it when you're putting it on the lid. It doesn't go on smooth. You have to kind of put it on and then blend it out with your brush, so bear with it. And I'm just going to take that shadow and help blend the black and the shadow together just by tapping over the top of the black. Not too much, just where the end of the cut crease meets the black. And these are a great dupe for the Stila Magnificent Metals, if you remember those, but these are a fraction of the price, so definitely give them a try. And then I'm going to do a winged eyeliner with my NYC liquid liner, which they're discontinuing. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to buy next because this is my favourite. Sorry, it's not a winged liner. I'm not winging it. I'm just taking it to the end of my lash line. And then I'm going to take my MAC gel liner, and I'm going to be kind of creating a slight wing by flicking it up, but I'm not going too far out of it because I'm going to be creating an outer V with this. So I'm going to flick it up to the outer corner of my eye and then connect it into the crease, and I'm going to go all the way into the crease until I meet the shimmery shade. Now the reason that I'm using my gel to do this and not carrying on with my liquid liner is because I want to blend this part out. I want the line across my lashes to be straight and sharp, and then the outer V is going to be blended out and nice and dark. So I'm keeping that line fairly thin, and then I'm going to take a pencil brush with a small amount of black eyeshadow, and I'm just going to start blending over the top of that black, but I'm not going to go below it because I don't want to bring it down. The only way I want it to go is slightly up, but not too far up. So you have to be very precise with your blending at this point. I will say that this is the part of the look that takes the longest, so you don't have to do this. You can skip this and just go in with black eyeshadow, or you can just leave it as is, but I like it when it's nice and deep there in the outer corner. That's why I'm placing the black gel down first and then going over the top with the black eyeshadow. And then I'm going to hit the lower lash line with some of that Omega shade that we first placed on the lid, and then I'm going to take a mixture of the dark brown and the plum shade from the Smoky palette by Zoeva, or Zoeva. I've heard people say two different things, Zoeva or Zoeva. I'm not sure. To me, it just looks like Zoeva, so that's what I'm going to call it. And then I'm just going to go in my waterline with some of that black gel liner from MAC to make it nice and smoky, and taking my pencil, I'm going to really buff that into the lashes. I don't want to see any fleshy colour of my eye there. And obviously putting on some mascara before I put my lashes on off camera. And the lashes I used were the Koko lashes in the style Goddess. I think they're my favourite, so I'm guessing that's what they were. They were kind of loose and old, but they look like Goddess lashes. Anyway, I'm going to clean up under my eyes with a wipe just to dust away any fallout. And then I'm going to go in with my foundation. So obviously MAC Studio Fix Fluid. I'm sorry, it's my favourite foundation. So I'm using that, and I'm mixing NC30 and NC50 to create my perfect shade, and I'm using a tart brush to apply it. And that's just me wondering why the foundation looks so much lighter in the viewfinder than it does on my actual face. I think it must be the lighting, I don't know, but it does match my face. And then I like to take a smaller brush just to make sure that foundation is right up close to the brow without actually ruining the brow. I use a small brush to kind of carve out the top of my brows, and make sure you get in between your eyes where that concealer is as well to blend it away. And then to conceal and highlight underneath my eyes, I'm going to be taking my MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, and I'm mixing the shade NC30 and NC50. NC30, not NC30, sorry, it's NC20. NC20 is a little bit too light for me, and NC50 is way too dark. So yeah, I'm just mixing the two to get my perfect shade. And I've been loving using a brush to blend this out at the moment. Especially when I'm doing a really heavy look, I find the brush kind of packs it on and makes it really highlighted and conceals any darkness under there, whereas the sponge kind of makes it more natural and takes excess concealer away. But because we're going full on glam, I want that excess concealer today. And then I always go in with my foundation brush just to buff out any edges and make sure there's no harsh lines. And then I will do the same on the other eye, and you'll notice that I'm not really swiping with my brush. I'm kind of just pressing it into the skin, and I do that all the way along the under eye. I don't swipe it at all because it does create lines, and especially when I want to get right into the under eye where I've got my eyeshadow, I don't want to go over the top of that eyeshadow, so I'm just going to gently dust underneath there with that brush. And then whatever's left on my brush, I'm going to run down the center of my nose and on my forehead and on my chin to highlight. And again, taking my foundation brush, just blending out any harsh lines. And for my contour, I'm going to be using the Studio Fix foundation in the shade NC50. And I'm just placing that on the hollows of my cheekbones and then blending it out with my foundation brush. I'm going to be both cream contouring and then going over the top with a powder contour today because it is a full-on glam. And of course, I'm going to contour my forehead, so I'm just placing that around my hairline with the small brush and then blending it out with the foundation brush. And same again on the other side. When I place my contour down, I always like to place it a little bit higher than where I want it to be when it's actually blended out. This is because when you go in and blend it out, no matter how hard you try, some of it is going to go down slightly. And we don't really want it to go down. So if you place the product higher, then you've got more room for error. And then to warm up the face and set all that contour in place, I'm going to be using my Give Me Some Bronzer by MAC and just placing that all over the areas that we previously contoured. And then to further deepen up that contour, because we kind of lost it a little bit when we put the Give Me Sun on, I'm going to take my Sleek Contour Kit in the shade Light, and I'm just going to carve out my cheekbones again and my forehead. And then I'm going to take my Mariah Carey Mineralise Skin Finish in the shade My Mimi. And I don't know why I'm saying in the shade like there's more than one. It's the only one because it was a limited edition collection. So I'm just placing that on the high points of my cheekbones. I can get away with this because I'm quite tan, but if you're quite light and you have this, it's probably not going to work on your cheekbones. It would be a nice bronzer for sort of all round to give you a nice glow, but on your cheekbones it's probably going to be too dark. And then because we're full on glam, I'm going to add another highlighter on there. And of course, it's the Becca Champagne Pop because... And then for blusher, I'm going to take my Milani Luminoso blusher. It's really nice. It's peachy with a goldy shimmer, so it gives you a nice sheen to your cheeks. And I'm just placing that over the apples of my cheeks with my Real Techniques blush brush. Normally with such a dramatic eye, I would pair it with a nude lip, but because I'm feeling extra glam and we're doing full on makeup, it doesn't get more glamorous than a red lip. So I'm taking my MAC lip pencil in the shade Miss Diva and outlining my lips. And then over the top of that, I'm going to be taking my Ruby Woo lipstick from MAC. And that's the finished look. I hope you guys like it. I love it, and I will be stepping out of my comfort zone more often. All the products I use will be linked down below. I will also link my social media down below, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all that good stuff. So you can go follow me over there, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.